leader. As an established brick-and-mortar service-based business owner, you've likely had someone say to you, you should totally open a second location. And you stop for a moment to consider it. You might be seriously considering it right now, which is why you tuned into this episode. And I'm so glad you did, because we're going to walk through some intentional conversations about whether or not you should. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, smart leadership for women who mean business. This show has been on air since 2018 to help women who own established brick-and-mortar businesses fix the people side of their business so they can stop carrying payroll pressure, stop over-functioning as the default decision maker, and build a team that actually performs without burning anyone out or damaging their reputation. I'm your host, Shelli Warren. My entire career has been built on leadership coaching, team development, and creating accountable, productive cultures inside real workplaces. Over here, we don't just talk about leadership, we live it. This isn't online leadership theory, academic research, or HR speak. The work we do here is grounded in real teams, real workplaces, and real consequences. Each episode delivers practical, no-fluff strategies to help you lead a team that can carry the business forward with you, not on your back. And I'll say it again, the team that got you here might not be the team that gets you there. Let's go. One of my former clients had 3 locations that she opened up within a few years. Business was booming, and so was her vehicle gas bill, because she spent most of her time each week traveling between the locations. Why so much time on the road? Well, she didn't have the same level of processes and team structure set up across the locations, so 2 of them needed a lot of hand-holding. At the time, she had 20 team members, all directly reporting to her. Yeah, you heard me. That meant all new hires were trained by her, all decisions ran through her, and she was providing the feedback and solutions for any and all team dynamic or performance issues. It was a lot. We worked together to restructure her team, set up team leaders and lead trainers, and refined her front desk team. It also became clear that one of the locations simply wasn't turning a profit. She closed it, redeployed that team across the other 2 locations, and things fell into a groove. Today, her locations are continuing to thrive because she has some strong team leaders, lots of standardization, and has been able to step back, way back, reducing the amount of time she's physically needed in the locations at all. I've had other clients who opened a second location due to demand, and it's worked out well. Very well, actually, depending on their business model. On the flip side, I've had other clients who opened a second location due to demand, and it's not working so well because they're having a hard time getting team members to meet their minimal billable hours, and that's hitting the business hard because there's a second lease payment to make. So what should you be concerned about before you go shopping around for another location? Let's get into it. Here's the hard lesson that every brick-and-mortar business owner has to get a grip on. You do not copy and paste chaos. Here's why. A second location magnifies what's already happening. If you have strong leadership, you can leverage the hilt out of that. If you have weak systems, that's only going to lead to stress and expenses you likely didn't account for. Here's another hard truth. If your current location depends on you to function, that's not a business, it's a job with overhead. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, hey, I'm not looking to launch a second location per se, but I need more space. I'm bursting at the seams. I'm seriously looking at expanding by taking over space that's already attached to me and doing a build out. Sounds reasonable. And you should still be framing that expansion as you would if you opened up a whole new space in a different location with a different address. Because here's what we know. Expansion doesn't start with the location. It starts with proof, predictability, and people. Those are the 3 non-negotiables before you open up another location. When a second location works, it's rarely because someone found the perfect spot. It's because these 3 things were already solid before the lease was signed. Let's look at the first one. Proof. Evidence that your business works without you. Now, proof is not vibes, it's evidence. Proof means your first location has shown over time that it produces results without your constant rescue. What does proof actually look like? Consistent revenue patterns, not spikes followed by stressful dips. Clear demand that isn't dependent on you personally, either being the person to deliver the services or the person who does the outreach and gets the sales. Repeatable wins across different team members, not just a few rock stars. Clients or customers choosing your business for the experience, not just your name and your personality. This is where a lot of owners get tripped up because they think, well, if we're busy, it must be working. But busyness is not proof. Profitability, consistency, and sustainability. That's the proof. If your current location only works when you're holding it together, you don't have proof, you just have a lot of effort. Let's look at the second non-negotiable before you open a second location. Predictability. Knowing what happens when you push the growth button. What does predictability look like? Well, you know what happens when you add a team member. You know what happens when revenue dips. You know what happens when demand increases. And you know what happens when you are not present. If you've ever worked in retail, you know that this is why additional storefronts run on tight SOPs. And those SOPs outline the same merchandising rules with photos and videos that have to be forwarded to the head office for proof that your storefront is set up exactly as you've been directed to. Same customer flow in terms of floor design, fixture placement, rack placement, and cash and change room locations. And the same visual standards with strict rules for store window displays, lighting, decor, purchase wrapping, and signage, because predictability protects the brand and the owner. I mean, come on, it's intentional. The brand wants you to feel at home in any of their storefronts and know exactly where to go to get your size, where to go to get your favorite items, and then where to go to hit the checkout counter. We've all been in a grocery store, frustrated that they've changed the layout of the store and you can't find your Tide. Now, for service businesses, predictability shows up like this. Documented workflows that ensure mistakes are minimal and that cross-training is super successful. Clear service standards with photos and videos making it pretty much foolproof for team members to meet expectations. Known capacity limits. Well, here's what I mean by that. It's very clear what "we're full for the week" really means. Same goes for "we need to pause intake." And my favorite one, "we can grow, but only if we add X first." So, in a nutshell, you know when you're approaching your limits, and your team knows it too, and they plan accordingly. And there are few surprises. So yeah, a boring business is a predictable one. And if there is a one-off odd situation, recovery is fast because you've got the right people in the right roles with the right level of ownership to fix and then turn that situation around quickly. Another aspect of capacity is leadership capacity. Let me ask you this question. How many people can your current leadership structure support? Now, I've said here on the podcast for years, and my clients certainly know, that I encourage them to have 5 or less people reporting directly to them. That's it. So, just like my former client who had 3 locations and 20 team members reporting directly to her, you've got to have strong leadership at your OG location before you'd consider opening another. After all, it's your current strong leaders. Those are the ones that will be tasked with selecting the next leaders, onboarding them, and then supporting them. And we've all seen it. When your business lacks leaders, accountability, well, it gets fuzzy. There's a lot of things going on that are simply being tolerated because no one really knows who's supposed to deal with it, including performance issues. And you guessed it, everything circles back to you, leading to decision fatigue and burnout. So, if leadership bandwidth is maxed, adding another location doesn't stretch it, it snaps it into little tiny pieces of collateral damage that might not be repairable, including your reputation. Okay, let's look at that third non-negotiable before you would even consider opening up a second location. People, meaning leadership that holds when you're not there. It's all about people readiness. You don't open a second location because you can hire more people. You open it because you already have or are ready to build leaders who think like owners. Here's what I mean by people readiness. Someone can run location 1 without constant approvals. Decisions don't bottleneck at you. Standards are upheld without reminders, and accountability doesn't feel personal. It's just normal. And this is where expansion quietly fails. Loyal team members get promoted without support because you need someone to move into a team leader role, so you pick and then promote one of your long-standing high-performing people, assuming they'll know what to do in the role. So strong performers get stretched into leadership roles that they weren't prepared for, and they can quickly resent that, regardless of the extra pay you're giving them. And then there's you. Suddenly, you become the invisible manager of 2 locations instead of the leader growing a business. Ouch, that one burns. Here's the bottom line. If everyone still needs you to decide, approve, or smooth things over, a second location will not create freedom for you. It just doubles dependency on you. If you know darn well that this is your situation, I bet you're just tired thinking about it. Here's how the 3 non-negotiables work together if you're considering opening another location. Proof tells you the business model works. Predictability tells you it can be repeated. People make repetition possible without you. Remove one and the whole thing wobbles. That's why location comes last. Because real estate cannot fix missing proof, unclear systems, or fragile leadership. So before you look for more square footage, make sure your leadership, systems, and team are already spacious enough to grow. Because a second location shouldn't teach you how your business works. It should confirm what you already know. Now, ideally, growth becomes intentional. You're no longer growing because you can, you're growing because it makes sense. Instead of saying yes to everything, letting demand dictate direction, or expanding out of pressure, fear, or opportunity panic, you're asking yourself, what kind of growth actually serves my business? What kind of growth supports the life I want? What kind of growth can we sustain without drifting away from our standards? Intentional growth looks like turning down seemingly good opportunities that won't fit, setting wait lists instead of overextending, and choosing when to grow, not just how fast to grow. Intentional growth means you decide the pace, not your inbox, not your team, not the landlord with the shiny new and pretty space, or pressure from your family, friends, or community who are telling you that you should. And here's another big one. Ideally, hiring becomes proactive. So No more reacting to emotional stressors, such as feeling like you're drowning and your team complaining that we need more help. No more making job offers as emergency hires or lowering your standards because you're desperate and you cross your fingers hoping that this new one works out. Instead, you know what role is needed, when it's needed, what success in that role actually looks like. Because proactive hiring means you hire before burnout shows up in you or your team. You hire for capacity, not availability or just to put bums in seats. And you build bench strength instead of patching holes in your team roster. After all, reactive and rushed hiring is expensive. Proactive hiring is smart leadership. And then there's this. Ideally, expansion becomes strategic. When growth and hiring are intentional, expansion stops being about square footage or your ego or fear of missing out, and it starts becoming more about leverage, risk management, leadership depth, and long-term resilience. Strategic expansion means you know why you're going to open up another location. You know what problem that's going to solve, and you know what must be true before, during, and after you host your grand opening. It's not, hey, let's open another location and just figure it out. It's, we've built something repeatable. Now we're choosing where it belongs next. Strategic expansion doesn't ask, can we grow? It asks, should we? And what's this going to cost? So let's wrap this up. What we walked through today gives you permission to slow down without feeling behind if you're getting caught up in comparing yourself to other business owners who have multiple locations. It gives you permission to say no to expansion without any guilt. And it gives you permission to prepare for expansion without panic. I also want to encourage you to jump back to episode 404, Inside a Large Private Practice, Leadership Decisions That Matter with Carla Willock. Carla is a member of the Leadership Lab who has 2 locations, and I described her episode as a masterclass in what it takes to successfully run a multi-location private practice. If you're considering opening up a secondary complementary business that's online and adjacent to your brick and mortar business, I want to encourage you to zip back to episode 405, The Realities of Leading a Private Practice and an Online Business with Jessie Ginsburg. She's a former Leadership Lab client, and her episode is an eye-opener because, like Carla, Jessie, well, she's just very transparent about what it takes to run a multifaceted business. And lastly, if you're thinking about expansion and you want to position yourself well for it, not scramble through it, this is exactly the work we do inside the Leadership Lab. It's where established brick and mortar business owners stop operating on instinct alone and start building the leadership, systems, and people structure that expansion actually requires. If opening another location is on your horizon, even someday, Leadership Lab helps you build a business that can support that move without burning you out in the process. If today's episode helps you see your leadership in a new way, I'd love to hear about it. Come connect with me on Instagram, where I'm at Stacking Your Team, and tell me what's troubling you about your team right now. And hey, if you're tuning into this podcast because you work somewhere and you want to develop your leadership skills, I invite you to start following our sister company, Thousand Islands Leadership Consulting. Check us out on Instagram or LinkedIn so you can chart your course to the next level of leadership.
This is Ellie. Come back next Tuesday. My Mimi will have another episode for you.